Albany wrapping up what can only be described as a rough year. As 2015 winds down, both Shelley Silver and Dean Skillis, as you know, corrupted of conviction. But as the new year starts up, there is a long list of things that need or could get done. That includes ethics reform, of course, as well as hiking the minimum wage for all workers, and whether Republicans will support the overall increase to get to $15. Approving ride-sharing services like Uber and Lyft, and also infrastructure. $8 billion is promised to the MTA, and the question is how much of that's going to go north of the 5 boroughs. All right. First, Richard, we can debate what ethics reform should look like or will look like, who should drive it as an agenda issue or not. Obviously, Preet still hangs over like a cloud over Albany, and who knows where it goes. How much of an appetite is there to go farther than they already have?
The bulk of the members want to do the right thing, and I don't know what we can identify what those new laws would be. If I had my 2 cents in this, it would be to make sure that the enforcement mechanisms, not just the criminal, the prosecutors, were more independent, more able to go after people, and that includes not just the legislature, but the statewide elected officials as well. The notion that we can go up there, pass laws, and this is going to change, I don't think is as true as the notion that if you enforce laws well and truly, things will change.
I brought on members of the legislature who say that they're open, if not supportive, of A, closing the LLC loophole, and B, making it a full-time job rather than a part-time one.
No, you don't mean that. I mean, no, the income bar that you're talking about does not apply to the wealthy. It only applies to people who actually work for a living. You've got to change country clubs.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
Jesus Christ. Would you please? I'll ask it again. Full-time rather than the way it is right now. Is there any appetite to get through?
There's a lot of appetite, but it doesn't stand scrutiny, so it won't happen.
Next thing, Dom, minimum wage. We've talked about this issue for a long time. The premise is get not just not just state workers here, but every New Yorker up to $15 an hour. It would be prorated. It wouldn't, I think, go into effect till 2021, which would be the final year. But there's a downstate upstate fight on this one. You think that happens?
First of all, there's always a upstate, downstate battle, particularly when it comes to dividing the pie and over any given issue. But I think this is one that the legislature, I hope the optimism that I have, this is one that the legislature can deliver on. It's something where the governor can take the lead. He needs something to put in his hand. Listen, Richard, it's not a good year when there's speculation, wide speculation of whether or not the governor is about to be indicted. That's not a good thing, especially for an Andrew Cuomo. I mean, to think about his father, and if Mario Cuomo was alive, and to hear the talk that his son, who went on to become governor, that there's talk that this superstar U.S. attorney is about to indict him.
Well, to that end, Richard, and I'll come to this side, but there was a piece today that 2 members, prominent members on ethics committees in Albany, in the legislature, also have received monies from Glenwood, which, as people may have heard, are is one of the more prominent donors and certainly developers that there is in the state. Nobody's describing here that they've done anything untoward here, but certainly you can say conflict of interest. The debate is, should they give the money back? Should people hand money over, especially if somebody's got state business?
About campaign contributions?
Yes.
Glenwood's convictions were the convictions that involved Glenwood were not about campaign financing. And if that's going to be said about members of the legislature, it's going to be said about the governor, it's going to be said about everybody in the world.
Richard, to sound like Donald Trump and not being PC, the issue before them was they have an undue amount of influence in the state capitol right now, does Glenwood, okay? And moreover, somebody who's sitting on the ethics committee, given also Glenwood's not illegal, but still role, and certainly with the Skelos case here, it probably isn't a good idea to be taking contributions from them, given how intertwined they are in state business.
It isn't a good idea to take contributions from any of these guys, if that's the standard. You're right, but you're only going halfway down the road. Ban the LLC loophole. This doesn't happen. Democrats in the Assembly have passed the ban. Where are the Republicans?
Richard, let me just say this quickly as you move to my colleague here. If you heard what I heard day after day in court, as these federal prosecutors were literally just hitting home runs over the wall, you need to return every dime that Glenwood gave to you, if you heard what I heard on a daily basis.
I agree. I mean, they were the main character in this cast of characters. The main one, I mean, I'm sure Glenwood would say, well, hey, we were just doing business as usual. They could get away with that. Not the legislators, obviously not Silver and not Skelos. That's just not the way the people want their business conducted.
Ethics committee.
Confusing hiring people privately for their private benefit and campaign contributions.
No, I'm not confusing
Both
anything.
are wrong
Not
in their own
confusing
way,
anything.
but they're different. If you're going to close the LLC loophole, which you should, don't limit it to Glenwood.
That's totally different. I'm saying Glenwood knew what they were doing were wrong. That's what I would say. And when you were
Well,
sitting
that would
there,
make them criminals.
Well,
No, it doesn't make them criminal. He was right. It's business as usual. It's loopholes they can get away with. Glenwood.
Okay, let me ask you a separate question, Counselor. We see certainly the governor and the mayor, I'm talking about de Blasio here, not on the same page as it relates to Uber, okay? Whether it's Uber, Lyft, whatever, Albany's probably going to tackle this, you would think here. Where do they come down? Because this seems to be, I know it's not limited to the 5 boroughs, but certainly a city issue. And the governor and the mayor, as I said, aren't exactly simpatico on it.
well, I mean, if it wasn't for the governor, you probably would have Uber heavily restricted in New York City. When the governor announced that, this is an interstate commerce issue because Uber just doesn't stay in New York, they travel outside of New York, I might have to pass some type of law. De Blasio caved in, another victory for Cuomo. And I think when you look upstate now, whether ride sharing should go to Buffalo or Rochester, these are depressed economies. So there's certainly, and these are opportunities for people to make money out there and be competitive also. And I think, quite naturally, it will probably happen.
I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you, I've heard from a lot of Republicans on Long Island that in the aftermath of the Skelos, that whether you're the county executive, Mangano, or other Republicans, including those trying to fill Skelos' seat, they're worried that a Republican stronghold, they're going to take a big hit in. They're already running ads, Democrats are on the island. How worried should Republicans be?
No, I think it is a legitimate issue that because of what happened with Skelos, and because he was the majority leader in the Senate, because of his position, it seemed like it came from the top, this corruption, that it certainly could be an issue why a Democrat can have an opportunity to be elected in that district. I mean, is it likely? Probably not, but it certainly is an issue. I mean, we still, in the Congress, in Staten Island in Congress, where you had the arrest of the congressman, that's certainly
Grim.
Grim, yeah.
Infrastructure, we know they're going to give the MTA. MTA is going to probably be getting a bill, right? Question is how much, where it goes, and who's going to get impacted.
Well, the MTA piece will go to the MTA region along the normal formula. I don't think anyone's challenging that. The question is what goes to the areas that aren't within the MTA, and that's for roads and bridges as well as mass transit. The 2016, here's a prediction. The State of the State message will be dominated by the governor's proclamations about infrastructure investment. And that you're going to see 2016 be, if he gets his way, the year of infrastructure. That means the Tappan Zee Bridge finally gets funded. That means upstate roads and bridges and upstate mass transit gets funded. And it means the MTA finally gets funded, and not by just a promise and a hope.
Okay, and of course we will be in Albany for the State of the State. When we come back, we will switch gears and have some good news for once here in the battle against ISIS. A major development in the Middle East, but the American public still aren't doing cartwheels about how they believe the current president is handling the war on terror. Will this become a huge election issue in 2016? And what exactly does the public want to hear?